Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnana Murtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Triguna Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Salutations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha in Utpatti Prakarana, the story of Leela continues. Just to give you a little brief. Sage Vasistha tells this story to enable an aspirant to understand the illusory nature of the world. The world you experience is not exactly as you are feeling. It's completely out of, beyond your real understanding. And it's all created by karmic process. And it's a changeable world. The whole day you can live in the spring season. And in your dream you get maybe shut out into polar region. So that's simple way to understand. Now in the storyline, Leela and Padma were greatly attached to each other. Padma is a great king. Leela was his devoted wife. And Padma has lived through a long time, a life of virtue and righteousness. Leela, secured by her devotion to Goddess Saraswati, that if her husband were to die, the soul of the husband should stay right in her own room, palatial room. Started using some foxy brain. Because death you can't stop, but at least she wanted to secure her happiness by keeping the soul of her husband close. And Goddess Saraswati granted that boon, saying that the dead body of Padma should be kept intact, covered with flowers. And time came and Padma, in a big battle, was mortally wounded, brought into the royal palace. There he departed. His body was kept under flowers. And Leela looked at the body, stayed for a while, and then entered into a state of grief. Again, she adored, invoked Goddess Saraswati. And Goddess Saraswati led her. Of course, she gave her the insight that though the soul is there right in their own palace, but the palatial space is not the absolute space. That space, if you go pierce into it, there will be another space. So in order to see your husband, how is he now? You have to leave your body, come with me, and enter into that space. And both go through a mystic travel. And Leela sees that her husband, the only very short time has passed in her world, in her husband is already 16-year or more young man who has inherited the whole kingdom and who has his own history, how his parents lived. And after they died, he was chosen as a king. All that happened while Leela is still grieving before the dead body. And now as they enter, Leela sees by her own way of direct experience, sees Viduratha. Her recognizes him as his own husband and sees many people of her palace and people she has been associated with. Similitude of those people were there also. So suddenly her mind began to worry about, is it possible that all the people also died and she didn't know it? Having returned from that travel, she summoned all her royalties and people, and she found they were all intact. Then she was very surprised and she invoked Goddess Saraswati and wanted to understand the mystery. And Goddess Saraswati has given her a lot of insight into the operations of the mind, how the mind operates, led by vasanas, subtle desires, and opened for her another type of revelation, a shocking revelation that in your previous life, you and your husband was known as Vasistha, Leela was known as Arundhati. And Arundhati had very similar relation, very devoted to her husband. And rather, Arundhati was also devotee of Saraswati. And she had secured boon that after the husband dies, may his soul stay into the same space. That place was known as Parvat Gram. In Parvat Gram, Vasistha died, and very soon after, due to separation, Arundhati also died. And the soul stayed in the very same room. This seems quite intricate to understand. But in modern world, you see how in computers you put folder within folder and within folder. And you can go back and forth, all with just fingertips. That's Goddess Saraswati. If scientific intelligence can do all this, imagine God has not created the world in a very dull-wit way. God's world is more fascinating than what computer gives to you. And therefore, allowing the mind to be gripped by the reality of the world, what you think the reality, that is a great error. The actual absolute reality is totally different. It's beyond your mental projections, where mind completely subsides. And that absolute reality is the Brahman. That's what you are essentially. Keeping that in view. Now, Leela expressed her wish to visit her previous embodiment as Arundhati and encounter that previous plane where they existed. Goddess Saraswati prepared her by giving her insight into the illusory nature of the world. The more you have that understanding, greater is your ability to let go your present reality and slip into a deeper mystery. Towards the end of section 23, I'm just repeating one verse. Goddess Saraswati is giving this instruction. Repeated affirmation that the world does not exist leads to liberation. It's very quickly said. You must realize you are being given the climax. If mind were to have a little insight that the world is not real, and behind the world being like a cinema show projected by the mind, once the mind is moved away, what remains is just the screen, pure consciousness. Just like in seeing cinema show, you are enjoying the cinema with past, present, future, and all the story moves on. But not for a moment all that story has any reality. The screen alone is real. At this point, intellectually grasp it and allow yourself to ascertain it. Develop the affirmation. I am not this perishable personality. I am the eternal self. This world does not exist. Just as the sun dissolves mist, so this wisdom dissolves ignorance. Just as the cooling waters of the Ganges reduce the tormenting heat of summer, so the stream of wisdom frees one from the fires of the world process. By nourishing his heart with the cooling nectar of immortality, poetically and profoundly expressed. If you were to have that real grip of reality, you can see how the reality based on your mental projection, that brings top, burning fires. Just to remind you, called Adhyatmik Tap, Adhibhautik Tap, Adhidaivik Tap. Adhyatmic subjective troubles that come within your own personality. Just your own physical body is enough to give you a lot of trouble. And then Adhibhautik, the world around you. If you are well satisfied with your physical body and think you are perfectly secure, you are not. The whole world around you don't know. As you walk by and suddenly a lion emerges from the forest, or maybe a wolf, can gulp you up. I'm giving some quick joking way to understand. In other words, the world gives you lots of troubles. And that's not enough. Shocking troubles, hurricanes, earthquakes, tsunamis, lots of the act of God, Adhyatmika. This is the fiery world. You are as if you are situated on a boiling pan. Your whole body must contain some temperature. And the doctor makes you secure that you have right temperature. The state of enlightenment is to develop a profound clarity, just like you don't doubt that this is your body and this is you. In the same way, and much more than it, a profound awareness, I am not the body. I am not this world. I am the mortal self. I am that am I. That was the underlying message from all religions of the world. And that's called immortality. As long as you are gripped by the tapas, these fires, you are constantly on your toes, afraid of death, anytime, mortality. Mortality, you see dancing all around you. Even if something falls on your roof, the bricks go dead, roof begins to break. Mortality implies things perish. And the idea, you're living in a world, no matter how wonderful you may gain things and successful you may be, but, simple point, mortality. Pure immortality. And that's the purpose of yoga, sadhana, and that's what's being described. Just as the cooling waters of the Ganges, that wisdom is like cooling waters of the Ganges. Reduce the tormenting heat of summer, all the torment created by the three fires, that cool understanding, I am that. I'm not this. The stream of wisdom comes like the cool Ganges water, frees one from the fires of the world process, and brings into your heart the cooling nectar of immortality. Continuing this in the next section, Yoga Vasistha continued, O Sri Rama, at midnight when all the attendants were asleep and the royal palace was redolent with the fragrance of flowers, Leela and Goddess Saraswati sat by the dead body of Padma, which was covered with flowers. Then both entered into profound samadhi and became like painted pictures. Now this is the description of how they depart to another world. Leela doesn't go always with her body. Saraswati goes with her body because Saraswati has no body. She appears to human eye by her Maya. But Leela has to leave the physical body in the state of meditation, becomes like a statue before the dead body. That's what others would see if they were to enter. And Her subtle body follows the guidance of Saraswati. Saraswati and the subtle body of Leela both begin to travel in the mystic space. And that space opened up in the corner of that Parvat Gram. Just like you open up in a folder, in a little corner. Another folder starts. With their minds freed from the evil spirit of the world process. Keeping that in this context, the goal in view. They took recourse to their divine astral bodies and began to soar in the expansion of consciousness. Goddess Saraswati soared in the subtle sky with her normal body, since it was spiritual body of Saraswati. But Leela had to leave behind her physical body and flew with her astral or subtle body. They did not really fly a great distance from the point of view of the physical world. Their movement was confined to Leela's room. However, they penetrated the physical space and entered into the space of the subtle plane, wherein was situated the world of Leela's previous embodiment. That means the world of Vasistha and Arundhati. They felt as if they had flown through thousands of miles in space. They're using they, but this doesn't apply to Saraswati. To Saraswati is all immediate, everywhere. See? But to Leela, it appeared as if Saraswati has led her through a million miles. And they have passed through. They discovered that the vast sky was filled with numerous worlds. Every day you see, open your eyes up to the sky, all those numerous worlds. Twinkling, twinkling, little star. And this earth is not even as much twinkle as the twinkling stars. I'm joking. The earth also is like a little star. This is the world you live in. And in that world, you have to secure your absolute happiness. Live forever. They discovered that this vast sky was filled with numerous worlds. Every world was filled with numerous beings. In each world there were gods roaming in their aerial cars, vimanas. Gandharvas were celestial musicians. They have their own music and dance. They are sages, yogis practicing meditation, siddhas who have acquired psychic powers, and Ishvara, God, controller and ruler of those worlds, in the form of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Every world has the same description. Who created it? Brahma. Who sustains it? Vishnu. Who destroys it? Shiva. Led by the will of Goddess Saraswati, Leela began to see the world of her previous existence, the place known as Parvat Gram. Parvat is mountain, Gram is village. A village in the mountainous valley. She saw great mountains and valleys, and the towering sky filled with numerous beings. Soon Leela and Saraswati hastened to the house of Vasistha, the previous body of King Padma. keeping themselves invisible to the people of that house, they began to observe various things. So they entered the whole house. House is still grieving at the loss of Vasistha and Arundhati. And they have all gathered, and they have come into that house without showing themselves in a subtle manner. They stay invisible, but they are watching everything. The house was an abode of grief. The inhabitants of the house were still grieving for the departed souls of Vasistha and Arundhati. It gives you to have a deeper insight when a loved one departs. While you are grieving, you must realize the departed soul might have already gone through an experience of 25 years. And is in a totally different state, led by karma. So if you are very wise and well-trained spiritually, you simply let your prayers and all good things you do in the name of the departed soul, you do, and allow your own soul to develop deep insight to move towards enlightenment. The inhabitants of the house were still grieving for the departed souls of Vasistha and Arundhati. See, imagine they are still grieving. And while Vasistha, Padma and Leela have gone through lots of experiences in life. Years and years of experience. Lot of thrill and success and power and glory. All that goes on, but the news don't break. The tears in their eyes had not yet dried. Imagine. Tears are not dried. And the person for whom they are weeping lived through a wonderful life. While your tears just journeying from the corner of your eye to your nose. Endowed with invincible will, they manifested themselves as twin goddesses before the sight of the inhabitants of the house. Now they appear. Leela doesn't appear as Arundhati, it just appears as a divine personality, a Devi, along with Saraswati. Their beloved son, Vasistha and Arundhati's son, is called Jyeshta Sharma. So Jyeshta Sharma and the servants and maid servants of the house thought that these two were the goddesses presiding over the forests, and offered flowers to them with profound reverence. Jyeshta Sharma offered flowers to the goddesses, not recognizing Leela as his late mother, and said, "O goddesses, please accept our adorations. Out of compassion, you have graced us with your presence to relieve us of our sorrows." Leela and Saraswati asked, "Please tell us about your grief. What has happened in this house? Why are all people here sunk in grief?" You must realize they were not ignorant. They asked to bring out all the details that are being told in this story. Jyeshta Sharma replied, "Here in this house there lived a Brahmin couple. They loved each other intensely. They were my parents. They have now left us. How cruel. They have left all their dear relatives and friends, as well as their possessions. They passed on to the heavenly worlds. Without them, this world seems desolate for us. O goddesses, behold, how even the birds have stopped singing as they brood over our grief. To our eyes, the rivers flow with torrents of hot tears, called pathetic fallacy. The whole world seems to be grief-stricken. And this applies to everyone. You are sad, you look at the whole world. The tree is sad. Birds are sad. Clouds are dangling sadly. It's just like putting on a speck. Put blue, everything becomes blue. To our eyes, the rivers flow with torrents of hot tears. The whole world seems to be grief-stricken. Please relieve us of our grief. When she heard the words of Jet Sharma, Leela placed her hand on his head. As a withering flower will bloom after a shower of rain, so the heart of Jet Sharma was delighted with the touch of Leela's hand. That's motherly blessing. But this is not ordinary mother who has come to discover that she is eternal soul, devotee of Saraswati. And now, as such, she is giving her blessings. That may Jet Sharma handle this, and may his soul prosper, evolve, become enlightened. So it's not ordinarily motherly development, but it's divine mother. Sri Rama asked, O sage, why did Leela appear in the form of Arundhati? That would have been more consoling. Sri Vasistha explained, O Rama, it was possible for Leela to appear in the form of Jet Sharma's mother. It was possible. Yet she did not do so because she was no longer attached to the sun. Just giving Yoga Vasistha gives you a little more understanding that if you are spiritually sensitive and you want to help your children develop that, don't be confined to only worldly mother's relation to the baby, but try to be a divine mother. The baby is a soul, and the best help you give to the soul to allow it to flow towards realizing its essential nature. Helping the soul to progress on the path of devotion and path of jnana, path of yoga. But that would imply adopting a very subtle method of internal detachment from moha aspect of a relation, and profounder attachment to God-based relation. See in your baby, that's one type. See in your baby a divine soul. That's another type. When you see your baby as if a divine soul, you see in yourself also that you are not the body. All are in the hands of God. That way, you become the best mother, and the baby becomes the best child. This subtle formula, you have to work on it. But that's not only related to baby and son, in all relations, friends, and so forth. Leela did not place her hand on the head of Jet Sharma out of her previous attachment, but because of Jet Sharma's good karma. Now, mother is playing the role of Devi. And it is good karma on the part of Jet Sharma that allowed the Devi to give him blessings. For one who has attained enlightenment, how can anyone be a relative or friend? For a sage, this world itself is non-existent. Brahman is the only reality. All these names and forms are nothing but the absolute. One who knows Brahman is ever free from raga, dvesha, attachment and hatred. We are entering into section 27. Leela recalls her past lives. Shiva Vasistha continued, O Rama, Leela and Saraswati vanished from the sight of Jeshta Sharma and the servants. They all felt relieved of their sorrows as a result of the divine blessings they had received. That's the purpose of Shraddha ceremonies. You create a divine atmosphere, feel the God's blessings have come upon you, and your sorrows are relieved. You have nothing to do with knowing what is happening to them. All souls are in divine hands. And they are going through their own life beyond your imagination. They are not confined to time and space. They are not confined to anything. They are led by their own karmas. And behind all karmic process, ultimately, it's God's hand guiding the soul to what is best for it. After they withdrew themselves from the sight of the people who dwelt in the house, Leela and Saraswati conversed in their subtle bodies. All the while, they remain in the space of that room in Parvatgram. Still their focus is observing the Parvatgram, that plane, that type of world where Vasistha and Arundhati lived. Goddess Saraswati asked, O gentle Leela, you have known whatever was to be known. You have seen that which was to be seen. You have gained an insight into the illusory nature of the world. Now, what else would you like to know? This type of teaching is repeated again and again. And Leela goes on breaking illusory layer, but still her curiosity continues. This is the manner of spiritual teaching and how it is assimilated by aspirant. Not all at once, there is stages. Leela said, O Goddess, when I was led by you to the present world of my husband, where he is ruler known as Viduratha, I was unable to appear before him. But in this world of my past embodiment, I have been able to appear before Jet Sharma and others. Why is this so? Being explained, the first stage, when Leela encountered her husband, who was young Viduratha, at that time, Leela was unable to appear in her physical body, rather in appearance. The answer behind it is that at that time, Leela's understanding was weak, immature. She was driven by just moha, just to ask her husband, do you remember me? Do you know your body is still out there? But by this time, when she meets Jester Sharma, the previous embodiment, son of previous embodiment, now she didn't have that type of illusion. That moha she has broken. So therefore, there was no need for her to declare she was the mother, showing the different levels. Saraswati explained, O child, when you went to King Viduratha's world, you were still enveloped by the veil of moha. You lacked the power of will because you lacked abhyasa. Insightful knowledge has to be asserted, repeated again and again until it becomes mature, strong, unshakable. It's called abhyasa. At that time, you are gripped by the illusory concept, I am Leela, having this particular body. But now you have developed that placid purity of mind which enables you to appear and disappear in any plane of existence by your mere will. If you were to go to the present world of Viduratha, you would be able to appear before him in the form of Leela. But now she will appear before him not with that mind gripped by moha, all illusion, but open mind. Leela said, O goddess, it is indeed bewildering to the mind how in the ether of the room the souls of Arundhati and Vasistha experienced a world wherein they became Leela, myself, and Padma, husband. And again with the space of a room in Padma's palace, the spirit of Padma now experiences another world. Folder within folder. World within world. Now I am aware of the fact that Brahman underlies the space in the room of Parvatgram. Therefore, the numerous worlds that abide in Brahman can be said to abide in that place, that space. Further, I understand that the world of Viduratha is not at a distance, but even here, penetrating this very space. Let's enter into that world as soon as possible. Goddess Saraswati said, O Leela, you were Arundhati in this world. Do you remember only these three husbands? The first stage, husband was Vasistha. Next, Padma. But now the soul is in the form of Viduratha. O child, just as numerous dust particles scintillate in a single beam of light, proceeding through a window into a dark room. This is a profound way Yoga Vasistha has done, which you cannot find in any other literature. The glory of God, how powerful. Brahman. And imagine if you are in a room and there is a little slit opening in your window and a beam of light comes. In the beam of light, you will see so many sand particles scintillating. Now consider each sand particle is a whole universe, a world system. Now, if you want to exercise your mind, how many world systems are there? Just one ray has brought all that. Count now the rays of that Brahman. All this makes your mind quite amazed. But the point is, illusion cannot be counted. Darkness cannot be counted. How many dreams have you experienced? From now on, start counting. All these worlds are projections of Maya, ignorance. Just as one sees many strange formations in the vacant sky due to various defects in the eyes, so one sees numerous worlds because of ignorance. Everyone has a vision backed up by your karmas and vasanas. And based upon that vision, everyone experiences the same truth in the form of a world process, a world of time, space, causation, past, present, and future. Just as countless ripples rise and fall in a lake, so numerous worlds arise and subside in the lake of Brahman. Leela said, "O Mother of the Universe, what you say is very true. Now I remember that this present embodiment has been rajasic in nature. Therefore, I have experienced an abundance of sorrow and grief. I can remember now 800 past embodiments. Every embodiment was like a reflection cast in the mirror of mind. O Goddess, in a different world system, I was once a Vidyadhara, a celestial being, a great musician. Tainted by evil desires, now that was the first remembrance. Now the second birth she had, I was born as a woman in the world of human beings in another world system. Then I was born as a wild Bhillini, a forest tribe. Led by good gross vasanas, I became a wife in the ashram of a sage. There I was consumed by forest fire and was reborn as a daughter of a great ascetic. Led by good karmas, I became a king in Saurashtra. The present day Gujarat is called Saurashtra. And that I'm giving you totally in a different level. Then, led by evil deeds, I became a mongoose. Then a bird. Then a black bee reveling in lotus blooms. Then a deer. I continue to tumble from one embodiment to another. I have ascended great heights and fallen to great depths. Like a bucket that goes up and down in a well again and again. So I have gone up and down in this mysterious well of the world process. Sri Vasistha continued, O Rama, Goddess Saraswati and Leela both flew out of the house in Parvat Gram and began to see that mountainous valley without having been seen by the villagers dwelling there. Invisibly now, the focus is the details about Parvat Gram and more remembrances from her past life as she watches. Leela began to remember the details of her past embodiment in the form of Arundhati, Leela said, "Oh Goddess, by your grace, I remember the details of my past life. In this very place, I became an old lady. My body grew thin and covered with veins showing through my withering skin. My hands were scratched by kusha grass, which I had to work with. My hair had turned grey, although my body was still fair in complexion." All these details. I was a devoted wife of my husband and a mother of many children. I served saints and sages with devotion, was ever diligent in performing my devout services to gods. Daily I washed the dishes, prepared sacrificial altar, cleaned the various vessels used for sacrificial performances, and kept the house well adorned. I had a glass bangle on my wrist, which used to be covered with dough. I was ever engaged in cooking. I was also involved in serving my father, mother, husband, and children. I was constantly goading my sons, daughters-in-law, and servants to perform their duties and do so quickly. I would say to them, "Hasten, be quick. Why are you delaying in this work?" And I kept myself busy to set a good example for them. I never found time to think, who am I? What is the name of this world? Nature of this world? Is this world real or illusory? My husband was also deeply involved in his household duties. He recited the Vedic verses, but his intellect was not purified. Sometimes, covered with a tattered blanket, I used to remove ticks from the ears of a little calf. At other times, I would shout at my servants to irrigate the farmlands. On yet other occasions, I used to bring green fodder for the little calves. And the more description is waiting for. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.